You are listening to Vitruvian Man with Jesse and Josh.
Welcome back to Vitruvian Man. As usual, I am joined by Josh.
Manila, how you doing?
Josh and I went and saw a movie last week.
Oh, man, it was so good.
Went to this little sleepy theater and saw Wild at Heart by David Lynch.
It's not just a sleepy theater. It's a fucking Quonset hut,
Yeah.
which is like the dopest thing. Like, that's, okay, so the Guerneville area, you have a Quonset hut movie theater, and you have one of the very first Pee-wee golf courses in America.
Is that true?
It's true.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's the one down by the underneath the bridge on 116. So that's one of the very first. It was created by the people that actually created Pee-wee golf courses in America.
Oh, cool.
And when we were going, this was a few years ago. The guy died a little while ago.
Yeah.
It was owned by a porn star.
Really? Which one?
I don't remember.
Someone.
But he was very much a porn star.
Wow. Who knew?
Guerneville.
But yeah, we saw Wild at Heart. That was hilarious.
So good. I love that Nicolas Cage, that whole thing where they're dancing to the metal.
Yeah, let's go dancing. So Nicolas Cage is wearing a snakeskin jacket, which of course expresses his individuality and, freedom. And he goes, "Let's go dancing," to Laura Dern. And next thing you know, they're literally dancing to metal.
Fucking metal. Not like play around hair metal, metal.
Yeah. Not even like hair metal, just like heavy
like
stuff.
For real metal,
yeah. And Lynch had to know that was funny. There's no universe where a lot of this wasn't sold as a joke.
Well, and the whole bit where later when they're driving and something happens, and they're all, "Let's dance," and you fucking turn on the music on the radio, and they get out and there's fucking kicking and fucking throwing punches and shit.
Oh man, it's so great,
dude. Yeah, that was a great. And that led us to today's subject.
Are you the one that found the ear?
One name that keeps coming up is this woman's singer.
The first thing I need is to get into her apartment.
I don't know if you're a detective or a pervert.
Do you like the way I feel?
I still can see blue velvet through my tears.
It's a strange world, isn't it?
Blue Velvet made quite a smash when it came out in 1986. Of course, it was, some theaters used to show it, and I think it had to. Wasn't it given an X rating at the beginning?
Oh, I don't know about that. I
could be wrong about that. Oh no, it was Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart has a scene near the end where they rob a feed store, and there's some really gory stuff in there that they had to take out to avoid the X rating.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
But Blue Velvet, of course, smash hit. I hadn't seen it in 25 years. Boy, did I enjoy this movie.
It's so good. It's so good. So I remember when it came out, me and our crew, we watched that movie like all the fucking time. We were drinking Heineken after that because of that fucking movie. Heineken? Fuck that shit. Pabst. I think that movie was responsible for the resurgence of Pabst in the 2000s. I think that was it.
Yeah, there's youngsters of a certain age, maybe in their 30s.
Yeah.
Who are in their 40s or whatever that are into Pabst.
Yeah.
That probably did it.
But I remember one time somebody loaded up a television and a VCR, and we took that fucker up to the park in Ukiah.
Really?
And watched Blue Velvet in the park, partying down.
Nice. Yeah, great party movie.
Yeah, it is a good party
All
movie.
that graphic sex and misogyny and stuff.
Just Frank rolling around in that thing. Oh, man.
Frank. What can we say about Frank?
There's a lot to be said about Frank.
Dennis Hopper, man.
Don't be a good neighbor to her. I'll send you a love letter. straight from my heart, fucker. You know what a love letter is? It's a bullet from a fucking gun, fucker. You receive a love letter from me, you're fucked forever. You understand, fuck?
The first scene between Dennis Hopper and his...
Kyle MacLachlan?
I'm sorry, the beautiful European
Isabella?
actress. Yeah, so the first sex scene between them, I couldn't find any research to say if it was improvised or literally every part of it was scripted. It was just so wild that it was like, I don't know, I was just interested to know, had they like planned everything out, or, you know what I mean?
You know, I don't know, but
yeah.
But with Lynch, it seems like he wouldn't leave much of that to chance.
Although famously, Lynch was laughing during that scene because it was so absurd. And then Isabella Rossellini was not daunted. In fact, thought it was kind of funny too. So now she says every time she watches that scene, she laughs, which is ironic, of course, because it's really brutal and hard to watch. So
but there's that whole fucking mommy. Oh God,
everything, all of it.
It's just the fucking putting the velvet in the mouth, like the whole fucking thing. It is hilarious in its own fucked up way.
And you have to think of the journey this film takes. So a lot of Lynch's films and television work are informed by his, let's say, showing the viewer the underbelly of an idyllic America. So this movie's set probably in the late 50s, something like that. The cars look like they're from the 50s, perhaps early 60s, but certainly late 50s. But so that's a time in America where we had this veneer of goodness and it was the good old days, right? And Lynch doesn't take more than a few seconds to go from people watering a lawn down to below the lawn where these insects are feeding on each other in a disgusting frenzy, right? Like that's his thinly veiled comment about what is under all this veneer of happiness and goodness and Christianity and stuff.
The note that I made regarding that was, you know, he's great at portraying the decay underlying the American dream of the 50s specifically, but the decay that's just eating away at the underside of that. And when they zoom in to those Beatles after his dad has a heart attack, it's like that one instance where his dad has a heart attack, falls down, and it zooms into that decay underneath. It's kind of like it's scratching away the surface and showing you that there is some horrible shit underlying this idyllic United States.
And not just underlying, but a few inches away.
It's fundamental to the framework in its own way.
And, you know, it's funny, in Wild at Heart, a character mentions shit, and then there's another shot of a toilet.
Yeah,
I don't know what Lynch is trying to say with that doubling down, but like in this movie, there are nice, subtle... I guess this movie's a little more subtle than Wild at Heart. That's what I like about it.
True.
There's when he shows, so at the very beginning, there's like that hilarious montage of about 2 or 3 minutes before his dad has a heart attack, where they're showing kind of the things you used to be seeing in it, what you imagine the 50s to be, right? Like a fire truck with people waving.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, he shows tulips, and these are some gangly looking fucking tulips. Like, it can't be an accident. My wife grows tulips. I know what they look like. Some of them go straight up and they look beautiful. Others kind of flop all over the place and it starts to look kind of funky. You know, that can't have been an accident. As he's filming all these idyllic things, he films this group of tulips. I'm not saying they're falling apart. They're not decayed, but they are kind of twisted looking. They aren't what you'd picture like a still photo of tulips looking like.
Interesting.
I don't know. I just don't think he does that by accident. You know, knowing what he thinks about this stuff and how much attention he pays to all this stuff.
And the other thing that you got with all those shots is the great color contrast that he throws out, because those tulips were against a white fence with the blue sky in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all of it's so well shot. It really is amazing. And one of the things that I found really funny was the radio. It'll be 9 o'clock at the falling of the tree, at the falling of the tree. And because it's what, Stumptown or Lumbertown?
Yeah, it's really North Carolina.
And there's the the advertisement for the, well, no, it's like the wake up call for the town, and it's all there's a whole lot of wood out there, so let's get going. And I mean, that's definitely foreshadowing.
Oh, right.
Foreshadowing the whole movie.
Sure. I didn't notice this, but so I was reading an article about the movie, and I didn't notice this. When the dad falls down with a heart attack, the hose is at his crotch, and the hose is spraying into the dog's mouth. Yeah. Again, not an accident. So before the crazy sex stuff even happens, the guy is peeing in the dog's mouth, basically. Yeah, but of course, as you mentioned, this does really inform a lot of Twin Peaks. This is the template for Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Kyle MacLachlan, the perfect Jimmy Stewart for the modern kind of Lynchian kind of look at what we thought America was. So yeah. Kyle MacLachlan's perfect. He has an innocent face. He does it so well. He's not, you believe Kyle MacLachlan. I'm not saying he's, the greatest actor that ever lived, but he's absolutely perfect for Lynch.
He's spot on for Lynch. Oh man, and then I mean his, Dale Cooper.
Yeah,
he's so good at that.
And there is Dale Cooper in this a little bit. In that Dale Cooper, despite his expertise at what he's doing, is like the heart of Twin Peaks.
Absolutely
right. He's the good person that's, offsetting the evil that's in this town.
It's like. Naive's probably the wrong word, but that's kind of the only word.
How about unsullied?
Yeah.
Kind of unsullied.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, he's like comes in clean.
Right.
Yeah. It's man. And one thing that this once you get in and you start seeing like Frank and his crew come into the picture.
His cackling crew.
Dude, that one guy. God, there's always a hyena, right?
Well, actually, the 80s was kind of like with RoboCop and movies like that. That was the decade of the laughing punk. It doesn't really necessarily exist in the 70s. It's like the laughing crazy punk appears in a lot of horror films and action films in the 80s.
That's hilarious. But do you remember that Dennis Hopper movie? I think fucking Kiefer Sutherland was in it, and Kiefer Sutherland played like a CIA agent.
Yeah, I think so. I've seen it.
Dennis Hopper was like was he
a terrorist?
No, well, he was. I think that he was considered like a hippie terrorist.
Okay,
like they finally caught him.
Okay,
and the line that he said that I was actually very excited about this line. The 90s are going to make the 60s look like the 50s. And I think that like this whole thing kind of had like that kind of sheen to it, even though it was about the 50s.
So 60s. You're saying it was portending for things to come in the 90s?
There was a lot of hope that the 90s were going to be a more radical version of the 60s amongst a certain segment of the people.
Well, obviously, if you look at the ebb and flow of the way that politics work and the way that activism works. Right, like the Black Lives Matter movement really did bring activism back to this country in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And in the 80s, was the Reagan era, right? So obviously, that's a lot of like good music gets made in the 90s, getting good art, reacting to the Reagan says, America's great. Well, we don't think it is so great.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. We have to talk a little bit about the score. So Angelo Badalamenti, who, as you know, is the composer of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
The most bizarre trivia I've ever seen in my life.
I know.
So I was thinking about him, and so he does a vamp in this movie, and he also does it a bit in Wild at Heart, and obviously like a lot in Twin Peaks. He has an interesting way of doing. It's like a vamp is like something. There's like a walking bass line. It's kind of jazzy.
Yeah.
It's kind of groovy. But what he does, and I think the reason that Lynch loves him, is it's usually infused with some atonality and some really weird shit harmonically. It's subtle enough to where the brain hears it and goes, oh, that's a jazz vamp, and kind of like moves on, but it's a little twisted. And the music is part of the surreality of this movie. So Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern go see Isabella Rossellini perform, and she's singing Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
And there's a full band out there. And there's a fade, which means time has passed, where Kyle MacLachlan stands up and leaves with Laura Dern. Well, They're playing the same song, only the whole entire band is gone. It's just the piano player and Isabella Rossellini.
It wasn't a different song?
Well, that's the weird part is I looked it up and something about like, is it Bobby Valley who recorded Blue Velvet?
I think it's Bobby Valens.
Okay. Anyway, he did not want any part of the movie. So they re-recorded it basically. So it's like by the time Isabella Rossellini is singing the end of that song, it's kind of half Blue Velvet, half something else.
Yeah, because I totally thought that was like a different song.
I guess so, but anyway. It's a little sketchy as to what was going on there. But I guess what I mean is to say only that the music really does help underscore the twisted nature of this film. When you look at like Twin Peaks, there are definitely recognizable themes that are very memorable.
For sure.
This is more of a score though, and the score sounds like a horror film.
Oh yeah,
There's very scary moments in this film,
for sure.
Of course.
I mean, Twin Peaks is a soap opera, right? So they play on that with a theme,
absolutely,
and utilizing the different themes for different people or different feelings and very specific, but
motifs or whatever.
Yeah, because I can totally see this being more of a score, and more of a horror score. It and really, I love Isabella Rossellini so much, but she is not a singer.
No, she's definitely not a singer. Although
she did fine.
I don't mind when actors sing and aren't great.
Absolutely not. I think that was part of the deal. Like it was.
Do you mean like she said, "I won't do it unless I can sing"?
No. I think that he's like he didn't.
I see.
He didn't want her to be a very refined singer. He wanted her to be like more of like an average person singing.
Okay,
is what I got.
He didn't intend her to be like a mega superstar,
a great singer. Right. Well,
it's funny. There's Forrest Whitaker plays Charlie Parker in a movie, and I turned it off 45 seconds in because he was so clearly not playing. And it's like I know I'm a musician, I can't get past that, but it's like it was so fake. Ryan Gosling learned how to play the piano for La La Land, which I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool.
Right.
That he learned how to play now playing like Charlie Parker, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Let's talk about Forrest Whitaker for just 1 second.
Yeah, let's do that.
Have you ever seen Ghost Dog?
Oh, sure.
Okay, that movie, I love that movie, except when Forrest Whitaker picks up a fucking sword. Oh. Dude, train a minute before you pick up a motherfucking sword. Watch him swing that around, you're like, that dude has never picked up a fucking... He's never even seen a sword before he got started in this movie. Like, there is... Oh, my God. I mean, I don't know how to do it. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, why, Forrest?
Well, yeah.
Why?
There's a terrible John Carpenter movie called Ghosts of Mars.
I love Ghosts of Mars, dude. I love that movie so much.
Dude, it has Ice Cube in it.
It has Ice Cube. It has Pam Grier.
It
has Jason Statham.
Oh, no, I know.
And I fucking love that movie.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's terrible.
Oh, it is,
I did say terrible, but I mean, I like it.
No,
I still like it.
It is terrible, but I love that movie.
Well, there is a scene, though, like where they mobilize, they get automatic weapons, and they're going to leave the compound and, I don't remember, flee to a spaceship or whatever the fuck they're going to do.
Yeah.
But when they all emerge from the door, they all do this special ops thing where they're all like covering their 6 and their 9 and it's just like, oh, so in the 4 seconds you held those weapons, you suddenly know special ops tactics. You know what I mean? So that's the flip side of what you're talking about. And that's the thing. I always say like a good movie or a good show, take something I don't know much about and kind of teach me something.
Yeah.
Even a little thing. So like you said, if he'd have trained for 10 minutes and had a guy go, oh no, you would never hold a sword like that. So like you said, like a little bit of training and you wouldn't even have thought about it.
Right. The tiniest bit. And I would have completely ignored the whole thing. It wouldn't have made an impact. So I'm sure I can totally see it. If I knew what I was, if I knew about it, like Charlie Parker, Forrest Whitaker. I love that guy, but goddamn motherfucker.
One thing I noticed, did you notice when Kyle MacLachlan, he does break into her apartment the first time, and I guess there's nobody there. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, he goes in, does the bug spray, steals the keys.
Second time, she's obviously there.
Yeah.
Did you notice the camera is tilted in her apartment like Batman? So it can't be an accident. There's a scene where they show a static shot of her kitchen, and it is not level. And you just don't see that in films very often, unless it's an actual hill or, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And it's not saying it's a Batman reference, but it to me is another allusion to things aren't right.
Yeah, you definitely get
It's
that with a
twisted
lot
a
of
little
that
bit. It's
camera
not
work.
flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, there was. I mean, the camera work is always so good for Lynch. I mean, he knows exactly what he wants, and he knows what he wants to convey.
I having thought that Wild at Heart was so much junkier looking. Same doesn't matter. Same cinematographer, and I did look it up. That guy has made some incredible films, like Schenectady, New York. He's made some very impressive big time films. So he is clearly a good cinematographer.
So now, could it be that Wild at Heart looked so crappy because it was a DVD player on a movie screen?
No, possibly.
I mean, because
It just felt junkier to me.
yeah,
This Lynch was nominated for Best Director
for
for
Blue Velvet,
for
or-
Blue Velvet,
Okay.
even though obviously it was panned when it came out. And it's one of the few films where it got nominated for Best Director without being nominated for Best Film.
huh?
But I do think, having now seen, I must have seen all of his movies by now. I do think this is his greatest work, and I love Twin Peaks immensely.
I don't know.
But I mean, to me, this is his capsule film.
Have you seen the newest Twin Peaks?
I tried to watch it. I couldn't even get through it.
I think that's the best thing on film.
Okay.
I think that is peak fucking Lynch. You've got Laura Dern, you've got everybody in it, and it is so crazy, and it's super surreal because even he said you don't have to watch this in order. So which
is cool,
dude. That is mind-blowing television. Like
Yeah.
I am completely floored by that whole thing. So I mean,
Did you see
didn't-
Fire Walk with Me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so with Lynch, I think there are times where I don't know if this. I mean, because I'm a fan, by the way. I say this as a complete fan.
Yeah.
There are times I watch Lynch and I'm all, that is so fucking stupid. There's moments like that in the last Twin Peaks. There's moments like that in Fire Walk with Me, and I don't mean the entire thing is terrible. I just mean there's sometimes the acting is so awful, or what's happening feels so dumb. I don't know.
With that recent season of Twin Peaks,
Yeah.
I think everything on that film is intentional. Like, so what you would consider bad acting was on purpose. Like I think, like, I mean, I get it.
Having only half watched it once, I would totally give it another shot because I'm the biggest Twin Peaks fanboy in the world. I really am. My wife and I watched that show as it aired.
Yeah,
it was appointment television. It was incredible.
God, do you remember did you have like Twin Peaks parties and shit like that?
No. Just we loved that show and watched it religiously.
Yeah.
And I do think one interesting thing about Twin Peaks, the series, is I think television is an interesting constrictor and governor for David Lynch's weirdness. So I love his films, like Lost Highway. Most people haven't seen that movie. Must see. It's great. The interesting thing about the series, though, is that just enough of that censorship, I think, really actually worked for David Lynch.
Absolutely. It ropes in his crazier instincts. Yeah, I agree. I think that it was a really interesting platform. I can't believe they fucking gave it to him. Like, it's amazing that they let him make that.
Actually, speaking of gave it to him, so he directed Dune, which is considered a failure, but it's kind of a cool movie. Did you know that, so first of all, did you know he was going to direct, that he could have directed a Star Wars film? So listen to this.
Oh, damn.
Here's part of the trivia. I'm going to leak out some of my trivia early.
Okay.
So there's a scene where Frank takes Kyle MacLachlan on a joyride. He calls it a
Wanna go on a
joyride.
ride, neighbor?
What it really is terrifying, screaming through town. Lynch says that's a lot like the meeting he had with George Lucas about directing a Star Wars film. Now, that's all I saw in the trivia. I'm assuming George Lucas was the one driving.
I'm wondering, is that Frank? Is
But-
Lucas Frank? He's Kyle
I thought that
MacLachlan
was
in the
wild.
back. God.
Could you imagine they almost gave the keys of Star Wars to David Lynch?
That would have been fucking dope. Giving him a budget like that to work with a
Yes.
sci-fi series. Oh my God, that would have been awesome.
Because Dune, as flawed as it is actually a pretty cool movie.
It's not bad, but it needed to be like 5 times as long to get all the information across. You just couldn't
totally.
fucking pack that in. I mean, Harkonnen and the special effects at the time, you just couldn't do it. Like the new Dune.
Oh, come on, man.
Fucking,
We love the new Dune.
God,
So,
that's amazing. And I mean, yeah, I should probably watch that again because the last time I watched that, I was like,
Oh, yeah, it's obviously flawed.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely flawed. But, you know, like the way that like certain directors, like, you know, De Niro loves working with Scorsese and vice versa.
Oh, yeah.
I really do think Kyle MacLachlan's the perfect vessel for David Lynch.
His muse.
Well, like he can come across as very innocent and naive or gentle and, you know, but like his seeing these twisted things, his like perception and his taking in all these things is it's the viewer's perception,
right?
It's being horrified. So I just think Kyle MacLachlan's great for that.
I mean, in the new Twin Peaks, like his dual nature character that he plays in there is pretty fucking amazing too.
Yeah.
Like he's really versatile, but when he wants to be a naif of sorts, he's really good at it.
I don't know if we were talking about this before we started recording. I love that. How does this relate to our podcast? And to me, the way it relates to our podcast is the male archetype. Right? Frank is obviously the abusive, awful, violent male, and in every single way, Kyle MacLachlan is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of modern heroes, it's all bravado. That's all it is.
Right.
I'm going to murder him in so many words. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to take his head off. Kyle MacLachlan's character says, "Why are there people like Frank?" He's crying and he says, "Why are there people like Frank?" And it's like what we're all asking ourselves. Like, how could people act this way?
That whole exchange between him and Laura Dern in the cafe, where he tells her that, and she says, "I had a dream about there were no robins and it was dark, and then the robins came and it wasn't dark anymore." And I thought that was an interesting way to kind of like give him hope for a hopeless situation. There's always going to be these people, but there is going to be an end to. There is going to be light at the end of the darkness.
Right. Obviously, Laura Dern is the exact polar opposite to Frank. Right. In every single way, Frank is evil and horrible, and in every single way, Laura Dern is wonderful and sweet and kind.
Well, I mean, I would more put her opposing Isabella Rossellini.
Sure.
Just because
although Rossellini is a victim, obviously. Right. I mean,
right, but Laura Dern is not.
Of course not.
Right. So, like, I think that we're talking kind of the same thing, but. Male archetype, female archetype.
Sure.
Those are kind of your two.
Absolutely.
Your two sides of the same coin for both of those characters.
Should we talk a little bit about kink in this movie?
Yeah, fuck.
I feel like this movie was not disrespectful to kink.
Yeah, that was like it really. That whole scene, I mean, this kind of relates to what you were talking about, how Kyle MacLachlan is the exact opposite of Dennis Hopper's character. That whole intro to the kink of the movie, and where Isabella Rossellini kind of sort of seduces him after stabbing him with a knife.
Yeah.
That whole thing where she kind of seduces him and she's making moves on him. She's all, "You can do anything you want to me." He's all, "What do you want?" She's all, "Hurt me." He's all, "Oh no, I ain't doing that." And then she goads him into smacking her.
Yeah.
And like she like pushes him until he hits her.
Yes.
And she like that's when the fire gets lit. Like that's where it's at. And he gets carried away and moves into that. But after that scene, that's where he goes and he talks to Laura Dern and says, "Why is there so much ugliness in the world? Well, how do people like Frank exist?" And he's having a hard time reconciling who he is with what he did and how he is not Frank, but he acted like Frank in that situation.
Yeah, and what's interesting is her acting during. I mean, it's a rape. Let's call it a rape. But
Frank.
Yeah, when Frank rapes her. Yeah. But she is smiling through some of that. So I've read some interesting articles. Is that Stockholm syndrome? Is that she's participating in this?
Right.
I mean, obviously, it appears to be a rape. I mean, he's a scary, violent character. Let's set that aside.
Straight up.
But I was reading an interesting article, and you can find it on Google fairly easily, about a woman that's was abused as a child and had started watching Blue Velvet and couldn't handle it and turned it off. Was very traumatized by it. But then later in her adulthood, as she discovered kink and started getting into it, she likes the movie now and actually appreciates how it depicts it. So she had a very different take, from seeing it as a young person to seeing it now. Anyway,
Yeah.
for a movie in 1986 to be respectful of the kink community in some ways,
Right.
I just thought it was pretty forward thinking.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. That's an interesting take because I mean, you never. It's role playing of a sort, even though
Sure.
it's obviously coerced sex.
Of course,
Right.
he is he's an abuser. Let's just of course he is.
I mean, I guess we should probably mention that her husband had his ear cut off and is being held hostage, as well as her son, in order Frank to come in and do this.
Right.
Like that, he's got this
Of course,
all pinned
of course.
down for it. So it's
Yes.
all
it's
fucked
a
up.
crime is being committed. Of course it is.
Multiple crimes. Yeah. So, but for it to be interpreted that way, it's an interesting take.
We talked about, I mentioned Matt Gore and Paul Russ podcast. They talk about things being cozy. So like if you see a fireplace in a movie, that can be cozy.
Sure.
If you see like a library full of books, that can be very cozy. So I think they would probably use cozy to describe David Lynch, because even though there is seedy stuff and gross stuff and scary stuff, the non-seedy gross stuff is super cozy. And it
Right.
is meant to really like bring you into a safe place.
And Badalamenti lays it on for that stuff too. Like
Yes.
it makes it a cozy scene. Like I mean that cafe scene.
Yes. Very, very swelling, beautiful
Yeah.
music meant to be evocative of an earlier time.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice that Kyle MacLachlan called Budweiser the king of beers? Which I guess it could have been an improv. So they were at the bar or something.
Oh,
and-
that's right, because that was Laura Dern's dad's favorite beer.
Yeah.
She said, "I've never had Heineken."
Yeah. And he just out loud says, king of beers. I guess that could have been improv, but then again, maybe it's just another Lynchian kind of allusion to America. Isn't it great?
Well, and King of Beers, that was the tagline for Budweiser, right? I mean,
Yes.
And God, I remember that ad fucking from when I was a kid. King of Beer, Budweiser, King of Beers.
Yeah, and I know Heineken's Dutch. Is that Dutch?
Amsterdam.
I
Yeah.
guess Heineken in this movie could represent kind of Europe, whereas Budweiser's representative of America.
Yeah.
That can't be an accident.
Well, and Pabst.
PBR, baby.
Heineken.
Gonna have you a
Fuck
PBR.
that shit. God.
Was that Frank who says that?
Yeah.
so
Yeah, he saw, what kind of beer you like, neighbor? He's all, Heineken? Oh, Heineken? Fuck that shit. Pabst.
No.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
You know what confused me, and I'm sure this is not the case. So when Kyle MacLachlan's dad gets a heart attack, there's the guy from Twin Peaks who's in Frank's gang that looks like that same guy, but that's a different guy, right?
Jack Nance?
Yes, right.
Yeah, that's a different guy.
Okay, so we never see Kyle MacLachlan's dad again.
No, we do. He at the end, he's in a hospital.
Oh, right.
And then at the end, he's barbecuing with
Okay.
the detective.
That's right.
And Laura Dern's in with the mom and
Sure.
his aunt making lunch.
Can we talk about Robot Bird at the end?
That's all. That's
Okay.
So
We have to talk about this.
Okay.
This robot bird
So-
eats a beetle. Now, if you'll notice, there were beetles at the beginning under the
Right.
ground. I'm sure those were beetles.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the robin is a callback to Laura Dern's speech, right? She mentions robins.
getting rid of the dark. It's the Robin coming in and replacing the dark. It's the light eating the dark. Okay, so that fucking robot Robin, dude. Like since
I died laughing when I saw that
that's
bird.
fucking hilarious. But it is as bad as the unicorn in Blade Runner with the fucking horn that moves when it's running. Oh my god. And I don't think they took that out of later versions, but in the original version, that fucking unicorn with the wavy horn. Oh my god! Every time.
Oh, man. We have to talk about the robot bird because Lynch claims it's real.
No fucking
Okay,
way.
now this is merging into trivia, but I have to read this. In Jonathan Ross Presents, for 1 week only, David Lynch claims that Robin in the final scene is a real bird. When told that it looks like an artificial bird, he says, well, it's playing a role, and smiles broadly.
God damn it.
It was later alleged that although the robin was a mechanism, it was made from an actual dead robin, and that the props department had found one on the street.
Okay. All right. It's a real bird.
I I think Lynch, I mean, could they have filmed the robin eating a beetle? They probably could have filmed a real robin eating a beetle.
That would have been rough. That would have been rough.
Gross to watch.
Well, no, just trying to actually like get it. No, fuck.
I
no,
just
dude,
love
was
that.
not a
I
live
love that
fucking
he
bird.
claims it's real, which I mean, obviously, you know, I'm no ornithologist. We've got a million migratory birds coming through our garden all the time. I know what a bird looks like. I know what a bird acts like. That is a dead bird.
Yeah, it's a real bird, but it's a dead bird.
Yes.
I'll give him that. I will absolutely give him that.
What I thought was funny is before I even started the research and before I even started looking at trivia, I'm like, what the fuck is up with that robot bird?
That's
I just
hilarious.
love that the trivia mentioned it. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for that.
I mean, that's one of those things that everybody has to have a comment on. Man.
You know, did you know that Isabella Rossellini's role was written by David Lynch for Deborah Harry?
Oof.
So Harry, she was sick of receiving offers to play the weirdo after she'd played such a character in Videodrome, turned it down.
Oh, dude. Videodrome.
Great movie.
That's James Wood's only good movie.
Oh, you haven't seen The Specialist with Sylvester Stallone. I'm gonna, yeah. Only good movie. Interesting.
No, I mean, fuck James Woods.
Awful person.
Awful fucking
But
person.
Videodrome is a great movie.
Videodrome. I love that movie so much.
David Cronenberg, David Lynch really are two sides of the same coin.
And like, yeah, he's like the Canadian Lynch.
Yes, absolutely.
Debbie Harry now in Videodrome. So when I saw that, I was young.
Yeah.
And that made an impression.
Of course.
Ooh.
I think everyone our age was in love with Deborah Harry.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Sure,
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely. Talented, hot.
Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was on MTV all the time, so we kind of grew up with her.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that? Oh, now this is really interesting to me. David Lynch had never seen any of Laura Dern's previous films. Rossellini had seen Mask and was so convinced by her performance, she wondered why Lynch had cast a blind girl in a role that hadn't been written as such.
Oh, crazy.
Laura Dern was great in Mask. I remember Mask.
So-
Mask was a good movie.
Mask was Cher?
Yeah. So Cher, right, her son is disfigured.
Yeah, he's got the
Elephantitis?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Or
whatever.
some kind of disfiguring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And she does play a blind girl. She plays his girlfriend, I guess, in that movie.
I think that's right. God, I haven't seen that fucking movie.
Laura Dern's
forever.
great in it.
She's
But,
a great actor.
So
So,
obviously she is, because she convinced Isabella Rossellini that she was blind.
How about Dean Stockwell and that whole scene at the house?
I'm sorry. Remind me who Dean Stockwell is. I can't remember. I can't put it to the face or to the character.
Candy colored clown called the Sandman.
Oh,
When he's suave. You are one suave fucker.
oh, he's the singer. He's the guy who's
He's the
miming
guy
the song
with the makeup and the light. Oh God, it's so fucking good. And that whole house scene is so surreal with those three ladies dressed up like it's the 50s in the background.
Yeah.
The obviously Isabella Rossellini's daughter and husband,
son and husband,
or son and husband are in the room.
Yeah.
And then there's in the other room behind them is the other woman and one of his the hyena, the laughing guy, are in that other room. And just how he hands over the cash, he's all like the whole thing is so fucking surreal.
Yeah.
He busts out with candy colored clown called Sandman.
Yeah.
Frank loses his fucking mind.
So great.
Time to hit the fucking road. Oh
Yeah.
God, what's he?
Incredible.
Let's fuck. I'll fuck anything that moved. God.
And I think Matthew McConaughey has a really great, memorable performance in Wolf of Wall Street. It's only like 15 minutes. But when it's time to ring the bell to start up the trading, he's all, let's fuck. And I gotta
Maybe.
think he had seen Blue Velvet.
Maybe put that in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
But then when they jump in the car and they roll out to the mill.
Yeah.
And that's where he starts abusing Isabella in the front seat. Frank
Yeah.
and then he fucking punches him, and then out comes the gas.
oh, dude, he punches him, and like you have no idea that mask is in that car. So when he puts it to his head, oh, it was one of the biggest laughs, man. That was like the robot bird in terms of how funny it was.
I mean, he had that on a weird little belt thing that he was fucking carried everywhere. What the hell was in that fucking thing?
Do you know that David Lynch wanted that to be helium?
Oh, that would have been too funny. That would have been too funny, man.
So, I mean, right, that would have been your bad guy speaking in a high voice every time he inhaled.
See, it would have been better if he used nitrous, just because that makes your voice so deep. Have you ever?
No, I didn't know they did that.
Never huffed nitrous?
No. Never huffed? No.
Or so I've been told.
Yeah. That's what I've been told.
No, it makes your voice super deep.
Okay.
It's really, it's like, it does the exact opposite that helium does to your vocal cords.
So I guess Dennis Hopper had heard that people use amyl nitrate for sex. So he's the one that suggested it be amyl.
So that's what it was supposed to be?
Yeah.
How do you get fucking gasified?
I thought amyl were pills, weren't they?
No, amyl's like the poppers. Do you remember
right.
poppers?
But it was like a vapor? It was a vapor?
A liquid, yeah.
I've never seen them in person, but...
Oh, or so I've been told. No, I remember seeing poppers. We fucking buy them at the head shops back in the 80s. You could just buy them over the counter.
Yeah, if you want to know how many drugs there are in the world, Josh and I both had a colorful history of drug use in our childhood, and we still didn't always take the same drugs. So
we come at this from different angles.
Yeah, exactly. This is bizarre. I mean, this is stupid, but this is the second work in which Dennis Hopper played a character named Frank, and he would go on to play 7 completely unrelated Franks throughout his career.
What was the first one?
I don't even know.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I just think that's funny that he's
7
played
Franks.
that many Franks.
He looks like a Frank. I could see that.
So, this is actually kind of funny. I didn't notice this at all. In the scene where Jeffrey asks the blind coworker how many fingers, and the coworker gets it right, if you look closely, you can see the blind man's companion very quickly tap his shoulder 4 times.
Oh shit! Okay.
Okay. So
That's
I
cool.
thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't notice it, just found it in the trivia.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at that because I will be watching this movie again.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's fucking dope.
An incredible movie. I mean, it's been hyped a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
But boy, does it hold up.
It holds up.
Not every movie holds up. This
No.
1,000% holds up.
Yeah.
I think we should talk a little bit about the criticism of this movie. I didn't read a lot of critical reviews, but I know it was criticized heavily as being super misogynistic.
Of course.
And it's like, do we need to define what art is just to start these conversations? Because showing something is not an endorsement of something.
Yeah, those kinds of that kind of criticism. I mean, it's like the same fucking criticism that Poor Things got from that asshole Mick LaSalle. It's like, watch a different fucking movie. You don't want to watch this movie. You're looking for something that is completely fucking saccharine. You don't want to think about something. You don't want to think about implications. Like, it's just, you just want fucking candy coated bullshit.
And let me just say,
Sorry,
too,
that was a rant.
Rants are okay. This is a rant-friendly zone. I think the thing is, that something shouldn't be doesn't mean that it isn't. Let's start with that. There are horrible things in the world. Right. And there is exploitation. You can have films that are exploitation, where rape is not at all earned, where it's literally the only point of the rape is to devise a motive for the protagonist to kill people. Right? So there are exploitative rapes. This movie is doing a lot more than showing a rape scene, right? It is showing the seedy underbelly of America.
Right.
And I don't know why we have to start a conversation with it's art.
Do we need to have, like,
we have to say
do I
that
need
out
to
loud?
explain this to you? Like, why are you, what is your problem? You're so, yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I've already said it.
I mean, even, people have been, punk bands seem to draw a lot of ire because they're obviously very irreverent and their themes are,
sure.
There's a song called Destroy the Handicapped by Fang. I remember being a kid watching a band cover that thinking, oh my God, this is horrible. What's happening right now? They're condoning destroying the handicapped. I mean, the thing is, mentioning something, talking about something, showing it is not an endorsement of it.
No.
I don't know. So,
so one of the first arguments my wife and I got into, and this is fucking hilarious. We were talking about the song Short People and she was fucking pissed. She fucking hated that song. And me and T we're like, look, no man, he's making fun of racism. He's making fun of stupid people. I fucking hate that song. My mom's short. I don't want.
Has he said that out loud that he was mocking racism, or is it inferred?
It's inferred. I've never heard it, but I mean, they got their.
He's short.
Well, yeah, but
so it can't be lost on him that he's short.
Right. Like but the whole setup. I mean,
Yeah.
Artistic inference. He's talking about race. He's talking about bigotry in general.
Okay, yeah.
Stupid, pointless bigotry in general. But yeah, that was totally our first fight. Was about that kind of interpretation.
Has
of
she come around, or she still?
Oh yeah, no, she totally gets it. We went and saw him and everything.
Oh, okay.
Like we went and saw him at the LBC. So yeah, no, she gets it now. There might have been a little bit of alcohol involved.
Yeah,
something like
that. But anyway, movie was fantastic.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, and that closing sequence, where he shoots Frank, gets the girl. I mean, the whole thing. It's like that seedy underbelly just got covered up again, and they went on with their idyllic life. Like the whole thing. Dad's back barbecuing with the detective. Him and Lord Dern's character are basically together, which, I mean, that's a lot. You figure like after seeing the whole thing with Isabella Rossellini and him, he put his seed in me. Like, whoa, Jesus, man, what? How are you going to come back from that one? Yeah. Apparently, he came back from it.
One trivia I noticed was that Isabella Rossellini said that when she is standing naked in front of his home, or his dad's home, near the end of the movie, there was a big crowd of people basically picnicking while they watched that scene. It's like, she says to the director, she goes, do these people know how rough this is going to get? But just... Were
they like just extras, or were they part of the movie, or were they just like monkeys?
It was filmed in a neighborhood and they were just locals. I guess they didn't believe in a closed set back in the day.
Like, that's hilarious.
Jesus.
That would have been a lot. Oh, man.
What do you think? Do you have anything else to say about the movie? We liked it, but did you write more notes, or?
I think we covered it.
Yeah, I loved it.
And again, like tying it to our thing, I think you're looking at Frank and Jeffrey are two sides of masculinity, and they're and that scene where he acted like Frank and he realized that's not who he wanted to be, kind of was like, I thought that was a pretty, like, it was an impressive take on that situation.
Right. In the moment she asked him to hit her, and he does.
He wouldn't. He didn't do it voluntarily. She pushed him.
That's right.
She pushed him until it happened. Yeah, yeah. And then he went with it.
I just meant he went with it at the time. But he's crying about it the next day. Basically, right. This is awful. I don't want to ever do this again. This is not who I am. Which, to me, that squashes any nonsense about this is a misogynist movie.
Absolutely.
Our lead character is horrified with how she's treated.
Yeah.
So no, this is not a misogynist movie.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Our vessel, the lead character, is appalled by it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
did we solve it?
Yeah, we did. But the good news is I have an asshole of the week.
Oh fuck!
Asshole of the week.
How can it not be J.D. Vance? Oh man. So J.D. Vance is Trump's vice presidential pick. Obviously, apparently Trump picked him in a panic, because there was a certain amount of polling that I guess Trump was not doing well with a certain sector. I didn't look it up yet, but he in a panic, he picked Vance. But Vance has been very critical of Trump and actually called him a bigot out loud in the past. Did you read about Vance's college friend who's transgendered?
Sophia, yeah.
So what's cool is she went on the air and has released all the emails because they were good friends. And at one time, J.D. Vance was a pretty decent chap, it seems like. As far as like they had a friendship, they respected each other. He didn't always agree with the things she was saying, but it sounded like he was respectful of her. He called her a lesbian in his book, even though that's a misnomer. You know, she wasn't a lesbian; she was a trans person. But he called her up and apologized for it. So it's just kind of funny. There's these two Vances, right? There's the Vance that you said he was in the Marines, right?
Yeah, he was stationed in Afghanistan,
right, so,
although he was a war journalist in Afghanistan.
And yet, there's the Vance that was in the war, there's the Vance that went to Yale, and now there's the Vance that the Trump kisser. And like every Republican in power, they have sidled up to Trump out of convenience.
I think Vance is worse than that. I think so. When he wrote Hillbilly Elegy, that was him entering politics.
Right.
He read the room wrong.
Tell me how.
When he came out and said all those things about Trump being Hitler, him being the opium for the poor people, him saying all that stuff,
right.
He was saying that because his bet was that the Republican Party was going to go back to what it used to be. You had people like fucking Marco Rubio, you had people like Ted Cruz, that fucking douchebag Speaker of the House, I can't remember his name. Anyway, all these
Mitch
people.
McConnell?
No. Although he was in that too. All these people saying, "Oh, fucking Trump's a horrible person. I don't want to have anything to do with him." Soon as they see which way the wind's blowing, they're like, "Oh, dick and mouth." Like
right.
They are fucking all over it immediately. As soon as they realize that they're on the wrong side of winning, they went over to him. He's an opportunist. He's an awful fucking person, and he was put into place, I think, because Peter Thiel and I think his name is Robert Sachs, two billionaires from two libertarian billionaire assholes from fucking Silicon Valley. They want control. They want power, and this is their bet.
Right.
Vance is their bet. So they wanted him in place. Trump picked him because he thought he had the whole thing buttoned up, and he wanted to solidify his base for whatever reason. At least this is what I've heard.
Sure.
So that's why he went with Vance. I don't think that it was a panic pick. I think that it was he thought that this was kind of like shoring up everybody that he already had.
Okay.
And all the libertarians that are funding Vance.
Yeah.
Peter Thiel has given him millions and millions of fucking dollars to put him into this position. He's funding this.
Right.
Like, dude, Project 2025. That's what these motherfuckers are all about. Oh, dude,
yeah,
he is a fucking asshole, and he's worse than the
course.
asshole of the fucking week.
Of course.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and as you and I talked about, this is just a rebranding of the Federalist Society.
Yeah.
Essentially, right? This should be a Christian nation,
right?
Governed by Christian law.
I mean, I'd go so far as to say this is the fucking John Birch's side of the Republican Party. Like,
absolutely.
It's gone that fucking far, and he is the face of it.
Yeah.
And boy, did they fucking make a bad choice, because nobody likes that piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's true, but like what I've heard is like he didn't actually talk about fucking a couch in his book, although.
Oh, what is the actual quote, or what was that misquoted, or
some fucking. Some kid put it on the internet.
Let he who has not fucked a couch come forward first.
Have you seen the Chelsea Handler thing?
No. She does a bit about Vance.
She does like this, like probably minute and a half
sure.
thing where she just like just fucking gives him the biz, dude.
Nice.
Like, it's awesome.
Oh, sweet.
And what'd she say? She's all, I'm from New Jersey. I know a lot of couch fuckers, and that guy's a couch fucker.
That's great. So a kid just started that as a rumor?
I don't know. It's like, it could be in the book. It could be just a rumor. Either way, I'm fucking loving it. It's
either
great.
way, asshole of the week.
Asshole
of the year.
Week.
Yeah. But I do have a couple quotes to buoy your spirits.
Okay. All right. Bring it.
This is Minister James Martin, who I don't know much about, but this is a great quote, though. What does Jesus say about migrants? He doesn't say help the stranger only if it's risk-free or convenient, or the stranger has the right papers, or is from the same ethnic or religious group. No, we are meant to show mercy to the stranger regardless. A real Christian.
That's
a real Christian.
Yeah,
right
I can get behind that.
That's a Jimmy Carter Christian.
Right.
Yeah. Which is that we're all brothers and we all should love each other.
You take care of each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
John Kenneth Galbraith had a great one. The modern conservative is engaged in one of man's oldest exercises in moral philosophy. That is the search for superior moral justification for selfishness.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's solid.
What the hell? Let's do a couple more. Shalom Auslander, who we were just talking about.
Yeah, I love that guy.
He was saying basically like in the good old days, you'd have a village idiot and kind of everyone would know he was an idiot, but it was just one guy, and said basically the internet did was give us a village for all the village idiots. So it consolidated all the village idiots into one giant group that is now bullying people online.
Too bad it's not a fucking island.
This is long, but I got to do one more.
All right.
So have you ever heard of Hannah Arendt?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's a speaks a lot about. She would speak a lot about anti, fascism.
She's a philosopher, right?
Yeah, and had incredible things to say, including this: the constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a lie, but ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. This is Trump, obviously, we're talking about here. Essentially, a people that can no longer distinguish between truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And such a people, deprived of the power to think and judge, is, without knowing and willing it, completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such a people, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. So I'm reading a book right now called Autocracy, Inc., and it's written by this woman, Anne Applebaum, who I swear to God is one of the smartest people I've read. Her take on the whole thing of after the debate was Biden should drop out. They should open debates, and fucking everybody debates up until the Democratic convention, and that way you throw the Republican convention into array. They have nothing to pin on anybody, and they have nothing to pin on anybody until the end of August.
That would be incredible.
Like it was the smartest fucking take on the whole thing.
Yeah, I love it.
But she's writing this book about Autocracy, Inc., and basically the point of lying is to confuse it so that nobody knows what's the truth and people give up. And that's what she's saying. That's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. And it's not just in America, it's around the world with different autocracies.
Yeah, and you could, it used to be in the good old days, just in, for example, I don't know, 80s, 90s, before Trump, you could catch a politician in a lie and it was a big deal.
They were embarrassed.
It was a big deal and it would end presidential campaigns.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't matter.
Nope, they doubled down. Doesn't fucking matter.
Doesn't matter even a little bit. So.
And it's on both sides.
Of
right?
course.
It's more on the right, and I think that there's more evil intent on the right. They're more violent on the right for the most part. But both sides are doing that shit now.
Of course.
Yeah, it's fucking. This is a hard fucking time, man.
Yeah, civilization's over.
I guess we solved it.
Have fun. Enjoy your dinner.
Bye.
All right, brother.
All right, dude.
See you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you next week. You have been listening to The Trivia Man. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can either call us at 415-484-8841 or send us an email at thetrivianpod@gmail.com.